This episode of The Frugal Millennial was brought to you by Just Health. Hi world, this is The Frugal Millennial. Welcome to my first podcast. For those who don't know me, I mainly make videos on YouTube about finance. I recently quit my 6-figure job in a biotech company to pursue my side project, which includes running startups, investing in real estate, crypto, and the stock market. I hope to one day get an MBA and return to the biotech world in a managerial position. Now that you know a little bit about me, today I want to talk about the imposter syndrome and how you can overcome it by faking it until you make it. I see a lot of my friends in high positions continuously tell me that they don't feel like they deserve to be in that position, or they don't feel it's real and they don't belong there. Even though I know that they work so hard to get to where they are and they deserve to be where they are. There's constant self-doubt, which is what we call the imposter syndrome. And unfortunately, I see it a lot. I too have it myself. I once went to a conference in San Diego during my PhD to present a poster on my research. I'm one of the few people in the world that knows my research very well. And my research is on protein folding, which is very niche. At this conference, there was a guy, and let's call him Donnie. He came to my poster and asked me all these nonsensical questions. And he wasn't even a biochemist. Donnie was a cell biologist. Because the questions were bizarre and nonsensical, I was struggling to give him an answer. And that resulted in a lot of doubt about my work, about my abilities and my candidature, and why I'm even here. Later that day, Donnie was giving a presentation in the seminar in front of top researchers, and some of these were professors who have decades of experience in his field. During question time, some of these experts asked him questions that he clearly wasn't giving the right answers to. In fact, he was making all these assumptions, but his delivery was so convincing that I think he convinced himself that he was right. Now, Donnie didn't care because he was so egotistic. In his mind, he had already thought what he said was correct, despite the fact he had no data to substantiate his stance. There was one world-renowned professor who kept asking him questions because he could see right through the flaws and fakery. The professor wasn't convinced by Donnie's answers, and in the end, he got so tired and frustrated of the nonsense, he abruptly said, "You are wrong." That night, I pondered over the whole event. I questioned why I let Donnie get to me, and why I let the whole imposter syndrome get to me, which resulted in a lot of self-doubt and self-hate. I read numerous papers that night just to confirm that my data was correct. And it was. There was no other paper that backed his quote-unquote views. I realized my self-doubt was the byproduct of him putting me down to make himself look good. And Donnie had done this to many people who had attended the poster session. In his head, he had made it. Somehow, through years of faking it, he thinks he has made it. And then I was overcome by anger. He was able to outsmart me by faking it, even though I'm the only person in the world doing this unique research, and I knew my research inside out. He was there to crush my confidence in order to validate his lack of knowledge in this field. And he would use words like idiocy, stupid, and unfounded, when all those words could easily apply to himself directly, since he gave no evidence to back his claims. And he will constantly state that he knows the field because he has been in research longer than me. And I know anecdotal evidence is not a fact. And years after, I found a tape talk that someone gave about faking it till you make it, which ironically is Donnie's mantra, but he didn't do a great job of it. Faking it till you make it is exactly what the name suggests. You trick your psyche into thinking you are above and beyond what you are capable of, and you work at this elevated state, which gives you confidence, and you hope people won't see that you are a fake until you ultimately achieve your goals or get hired in a position that you aren't really qualified for. This is not negative as it sounds, some people are so good at faking it because they actually work hard to fill the gaps and gain knowledge beyond their scope to achieve their ultimate aim of making it. Then there's Donnie, who didn't bother reading papers or gain extra knowledge to fill in the gaps, so he failed at making it because everyone could see that he lacked knowledge. When I finished my PhD, I was talking to a friend who had assured me that I am the best at what I do because no one else does this unique research. But despite this, I felt subpar and I lacked confidence. So I thought about using this fake it till you make it method to build my confidence, to elevate myself in order to allow my mind to catch up to what I'm actually capable of. In other words, I'm faking it so my mind makes it or catches up to my true abilities. And this is how I was able to overcome the imposter syndrome. Around the same time, I was looking for a job, but to no avail. I'd been looking for months. My friends who had similar experience as me sent me his CV as he got a job instantly. This was when I realized I have been underselling myself. There were lots of skill sets that I have, but I didn't list them because I didn't think I was necessarily an expert. And this was my first mistake. I was so caught up in my lack of confidence that I didn't think I was good enough to put those skill sets onto my CV. My friend thought he was good enough to list it on his CV, so why mustn't I? After I have refined my CV and sent them off with a more polished cover letter, I had a few interviews lined up almost instantly. The challenge was then faking it, and this takes a lot of effort. I'm not an actor, but just a simple scientist. How do I get my mind to catch up to my true abilities and remove all those self-doubt? For someone who isn't confident, it was all about practice. I can't stress how important this is. If you're an expert at what you do, then you need to sell how well you understand what you do. Faking it until you make it is all about removing self-doubt. And also, it helps if you have a few experts in your field to look up to. And make sure this person or these people are hard workers, good at what they do, have a positive outlook, and is someone that gets along with everyone. For example, my old boss, Paul, was someone I really looked up to. He was so good at what he did, he was disciplined and he was very encouraging and one of the nicest people I know. And he had all the knowledge and charisma that helped him accelerate at his job. I then pictured myself being in Paul's position. How would Paul answer this question at an interview? How will Paul approach this situation? And this is something I emulated throughout my scientific career. Being someone else that is better than you will only help you become a better person. Eventually, you will surpass them and then you become your own self. And that was what happened to me. When my mind finally caught up to my abilities, I understood my self-worth. I was able to land my dream job. And you end up becoming a better person because you have strived to be that better person. Choosing the right mentor is very important. I remember working next to a lab which was headed by a guy who didn't do much work and gets his PhD students and postdocs to do everything for him, and then he takes all the credit for it. People were fooled by his abilities and his charm, but he wasn't exactly the most moral person. Disturbingly, his students will brag about him and want to be exactly like him because his methodology was the easiest way to climb the academic ladder. If you had chosen him as a mentor, you'll probably end up like Donnie from San Diego. People will eventually see past that fakery and that would end your career. Although I'm no longer in the science field anymore, I feel this is an applicable approach to everything you do. I now know how to identify all the Donnies out there. They are the ones that talk the talk but have nothing to show. They are the ones that will sell you a land and home package but don't own any because they don't believe in it. They are the ones out there spruiking their 5-day bootcamp for investing when they don't invest in anything, and they hope they will fake it until they make it. And unfortunately, a lot of people buy into their product, which makes them a lot of money. Then they can use that money to invest. These are the people I steer away from. and I never let them put me down because I know their motive. Faking it for me means pretending to be someone you look up to who is better than you and emulate their chain of thought. It is about hard work, doing research to fill the gaps. It is not about pretending to know something you don't know about. Nothing in life is easy. It is also about being someone you want to be. For me, there is no negative connotation attached to the way I approach faking it. Furthermore, you know you have finally made it when people reward you for what you do. People seek your expertise, and more importantly, that you have removed all the self-doubt and no longer suffer from the imposter syndrome. I hope you like this episode on removing the imposter syndromes by faking it till you make it. This is the Frugal Millennial signing off. If you want to check out my YouTube channel, the link is in the description. Until next time, thanks for listening.